2, 3. So let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Michael. My name is Klangwirkstoff. I'm calling you from Washington DC, from the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Michael Brückner accepted our second invitation to the show. Michael, welcome again to the show, man.
Hi, good to see you again.
Same here, man.
So soon again.
That's right, man. Well, you're a good artist, so we need to talk to you every week.
Okay.
And so feel free to, the last time we finished, we meant talk about, you know, in terms of when releasing the records, you do label releases, you do self-release albums. Feel free to elaborate in that.
Yes. I think we talked about how I recorded a lot of albums without releasing any of it for more than 10 years, and how it started with SynGate. And every year I have at least one album on SynGate. However, for some reason I always had more output than that, and so I'm still self-releasing my older back catalog, plus a lot of new albums too on my own Bandcamp page. And in a way, it turned out that I tend to do different things when I consider an album I'm working on a label release. Like I have the background of the label a little bit in my mind. So with SynGate, they tend to release more melodic music, more accessible music, and maybe a little bit in the vein of Jean-Michel Jarre or a Tangerine Dream of the 80s, when they did more melodic music. Yeah. And therefore it's not like I write specifically melodic music only for SynGate, but sometimes I have ideas which are rather melodic, and when I have some, I think, oh, I could keep that idea and use it on my next SynGate release. And that's what happened. And on the other hand, there is this other label, an American label run by a great musician called Jack Hertz. I don't know if you know him. He's from California, I think. San Francisco Bay Area. That's where Robert Rich is from too. Yeah. And he's like an American electronic underground veteran. And he's a great guy, but he's a very experimental kind of musician. He likes noise, he likes strange sounds, he likes unconventional music. And Jack used to do really a lot of compilations on his label called Aural Films, I think it's called. And he did for 5 or 6 years 1 or 2 compilations where he invited really a lot of artists from the American and European electronic underground. And a lot of these compilations had a theme. Like one theme was, it was about robots, or it was about space rock, or it was about trees, or it was about, well, I don't know. He had a lot of ideas. And the cool thing was that with him, I always felt free to experiment.
Gotcha.
So if I had some wild or some strange ideas, I always thought, okay, these compilations are the place where I can do something like that, and it fits in nicely. And so I did, and I also released 2 full albums there, and they are quite different from what I do on SynGate. And yes, I mean, today it's easy to release your own work by yourself on Bandcamp or other platforms. But it's always also special to do something for a label, because if it's a label that has its own audience, you reach completely different people than the small circle that has grown around what I do via Facebook, for example.
And then when you release something on a record label, of course,
Yeah.
they take a bigger percentage. And who keep control of that? You keep control, or you give the control to them to do re-release or do whatever they want?
Yes, it's different. It depends on the label, and every label has its own philosophy. I mean, for example, Oral Films is not a very commercial label. So usually they do free releases, actually, of releases like Name Your Price.
Yeah.
And if I work with underground labels that are not very commercial, which is mostly the case, you don't expect a lot of money back. And usually I make more money out of my own self-release stuff than, for example, on Oral Films. But for example, in the case of SynGate, they have a system. They have really rules, like you make a contract, and it's clearly defined how it's per sale, how the percentage, right, is that I get from any sale. And that's, of course, it's not as much as if I would self-release them, but then there are more sales. So
yeah, balance it out, right?
yeah.
And when you do self-release, you, in terms of CDs itself, you create like a batch of, you go to like a factory there and there, and then do 100, 200, 500, whatever you think you can sell it, or
no.
Or
I mean, I did that a few times, on a few occasions, maybe just 3 or 4 times. I did it like what you said. We did 100 or 150 CDs. But actually, I do CDRs.
CDRs, yeah.
CDRs, and I actually Kilian from SynGate is producing the CDRs for me, and he has a high quality CD burning device.
Yeah.
And he also can produce the
Your camera was lost for a while.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Record. Okay, continue. You are frozen.
Huh?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to get these CDs to have an example.
Yeah.
So where's the camera?
Yeah, right there. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. And so this actually is a CDR.
Ah, I see.
But it doesn't look like. It has a full imprint, high quality, and actually they are quite durable. Durable is the right word. You can play them. I have some of them played for 5 years or 10 years without problems. And they are really just as good as factory pressed CDRs. And we have printed booklets and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but we really can produce just one on demand. And I think that's a good thing because I don't sell that much. And but I have a lot of albums in the catalog. And if I had to store 100 CDs for every album I have in the catalog, I needed a hall to put them all there.
Your wife will drive you out of the house.
Yes, probably. And and it's all better, also better for the environment.
Of course, well, yeah.
I think so. So you don't have, you know, you don't have a batch of 100, sell 50 and throw the other 50 in the garbage someday. You have one order and do one copy, and that's great. So
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
It's more efficient. But when I started, a lot of people were critical about CDRs. A lot of CD collectors said, I won't buy it as long it's a CDR. I only will buy real CDs. And it was a big discussion. And well, but the funny thing was when I finally got around and had a real glass mastered real CD out, I sold just as much as of the others. You know, people always said, oh, make a real CD and I'll buy it. But it wasn't true. It was the same number of people who
buy the CDR or the real.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but because Killian, I don't know, in a factory will cost, I don't know, $2 to make a CD. I mean, no CD, but CD. Maybe.
It depends, yes. Around that. Yes.
Some say that, yeah, and CDR will cost you, I don't know, like 10 cents or whatever you buy out.
No, I mean it's a little more still because I also pay for Kilian's service to do that for me. I mean, it's a fair price, and he's doing that for me for a friend. He doesn't do that for anybody else. Well, and I'm very happy that he is helping me out with that. But it's a little bit more expensive like that. But it's okay.
Yeah, where Kilian? He lives in Germany?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I will send him an email. Maybe it's a good person to. We exchange a couple emails, but I never met the guy. Maybe I will send an email. Maybe I'll do an interview. I would like to interview people from the record label. I would like to know the record label point of view. That's what I said about, you know, the head of Bandcamp, the head of ECM, the head of K-Scope. Yeah. You know, well, maybe we'll do that. It would be interesting to talk about the business side of the music, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Would be good. So feel free to, what about the people that you collaborated with, either band or duo project over the years? What memory do you have for that? Some better than others? Feel free to elaborate on the people that you.
I mean, I really enjoyed to collaborate with everyone I did. Yeah. They were good friends, and they were or are unique personalities. And I learned something from any of them. And it was always a joy. And I was thinking it's a bit tricky to start mentioning people, because I always think, oh, I will forget to mention someone.
Sure. Yeah.
No matter how I try, after the interview, I will say, oh, I forgot
That person. Yeah.
that person or the other person.
Gotcha.
Well,
But
it started very early on, actually. I told you when we met for the first time,
yeah.
that when I met my wife, we actually met to create music together.
Yeah.
But because she was a singer, or she can still be a singer if she likes to, and we actually did quite a couple of songs over the years, and yeah, and there were other friends. Like I had a friend who was a very good guitar player, who I already knew from my school, and he was playing progressive rock, and he really was great. And we made some sessions and recorded that. And there were other people over the years, in the early years, in the first 5 or 6 years, usually guitar players, like my brother, for example. My brother is 10 years younger than I am, so we are quite far apart. And at some point when he was 16, he started to play heavy metal.
Wow.
So and death metal, and I don't know, all kinds of that stuff. And we met for some sessions too, and there's material from that, and so on. There were also a few others. A very important person for me was, who is still one of my best personal friends, a gentleman called Klaus Schulze. Yeah. And you won't have heard from him. He was in a local band, in a German band, before I met him, and he was into avant-garde pop and ambient. It was actually him who introduced me to the music of Brian Eno.
Wow.
And he knew a little bit about production, how you produce music, and he was quite a good singer. And we originally met when I studied graphical design. And Klaus later made a career in graphical design, and he owns a company since quite a few years, and has settled down in that, and he has abandoned making music. But in the early days, it was great fun to create songs with him, and I learned many lessons from him.
Good.
Yeah, but there was a period after the first 5 or 6 years when I worked mostly alone, and around the turn of the millennium, it happened that I was on the birthday party of the sister of my wife, one of her sisters, and there was a friend of her husband, who I met regularly at their parties, and his name was Reinhold Krämer. And on that day he approached me and said, listen, Stephanie had told me that you are making music, and we are musicians, and we are about to found a new band. Are you interested to join us?
Oh.
And I said, I'm not really a musician. I'm just doing that electronic stuff. Are you sure that you want to have me? And he said, right, let's give it a try. And I gave them some recordings that I had, and they liked it. and we started that band that later was called Before Sunrise. And that it wasn't, we had it running from, I think, for 10 years, from 2000 until about 2010. And we recorded two studio albums, then one EP, and also something like a live album, which was heavily edited. And we have still hours of unreleased sessions lying around.
Wow.
And these guys were from a small town in the area called Alzey. And they were a little bit older than I am, maybe 7 or 10 years older than me. And they were from the local progressive music scene. And there was a whole scene of small bands origin from the late 70s on, actually. And they shared like a pool of musicians. And they came together in different band projects, in different constellations. And actually, it was in that context that I, for the first time, met Markus Reuter.
Wow.
Because one of these guys was organizing a little festival. And actually we went to see the band of Reinhold and Wolle and of these guys who founded Before Sunrise with me. But it was before that. I mean, it was earlier. It was, I think we started Before Sunrise in the spring of 2000. And it was in December 1999 when that festival took place.
Yeah.
And it was in the village, in the neighboring village from where my wife came from, where she had grown up. So it was like in the neighborhood. That band, which was called still Brightness Falls, that was their project before our project. And they were the opener of that festival. And they actually played some of their own songs. And they played some Dead Can Dance songs. And they closed the show with a cover version of Starless by King Crimson.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite cool. And okay, and as I said, the husband of my sister's wife was a friend of Reinhold, who was in the band. And so we just, they took me with them, and but they just wanted to see the show of the first band. And they didn't, they wanted to go home after the first band. And the second band that was playing, that was just this one guy with a very strange looking guitar and another guy who played a simple keyboard, but they sounded great. And I found it fascinating what they were doing. The people I had come with wanted to pull me away. I said, come on, we want to go home. And I said, no, I have to listen to them.
Of course.
And that was Central Zone, the project of Markus Reuter and Bernhard Westheinrich.
Yeah.
And early on, really early on, I think they had just started 2 or 3 years earlier. And later, I had no idea who they were. I just remembered that name, Central Zone, and didn't hear about them for another 6 years or so. And when I started to move on MySpace, then I met Bernhard Westheinrich, who is the partner of Markus Reuter in their label, and who had his solo project going on. And I still didn't know that he was the same guy that I had been that had been playing keyboards on that festival 6 years earlier.
Wow.
But in time I found out, and actually I also did 2 small concerts in Berlin together with Bernhard Westheinrich later in Berlin, in cafes in Berlin.
Wow, what a story, man.
So, and that's another collaboration. And well, it's speaking about Before Sunrise, we started meeting, practicing. That was Reinhold Krämer, Wolfgang Bechtluft, who was a guitar player. Reinhold Krämer was a keyboard player and singer. And in the beginning, we also had Gerd Weiing. Maybe you have heard from Gerd Weiing already? No, he's doing solo stuff now, like Robert Fripp soundscapes, loop guitar and stuff. Great musician, Gerd Weiing.
Did you send me that email from him? No, I don't remember. Maybe you did.
No, I didn't mention Gerd yet.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but there are so many.
Yeah.
There are so many of them. But we started as 4 people, but after a while, Gerd was moving to another place in the country, and he couldn't attend the rehearsals anymore, and we carried on as a trio. Yeah, and but it was a crazy time. I learned so much from the music we did. And they were crazy guys who always wanted to experiment and who had fun creating weird music. We always wanted to do weird music, and we really did. The stuff really is weird. But there were great lessons for me to work with people and the dynamics that come about if you're not alone, but exchange ideas with others and have to arrange your energies together to create a result together. And we had a great time. Yeah.
Good.
But at some point the time ended, and there were other long-time collaborations coming about. I mean, I met really a lot of musicians and did a lot of small collaborations. Like we did 1 track together. I did a couple of tracks together with a musician called Harald Bertram. He's great too, and with Cousin Silas. Did you happen to meet Cousin Silas already?
No, but I interviewed Harold. He's Harold Croft.
I don't know. I don't think the one I mean is Harald Bertram.
No, that's different. Yeah.
He's a genius, but he's not that well known for whatever reason. Yes, but maybe I just mentioned the long time collaborations like band projects.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting is with Tommy Betzler, I think. Have you contacted Tommy in the meanwhile? He's one of the founders of Peacock.
Yeah, I think I sent him in Facebook. I sent him an email. Tommy, he has no reply to me. And
okay.
But I need to write myself a note. He's the drummer, Tommy. Tommy's the drummer, right?
Tommy is the drummer, yes. He also played some concerts with Klaus Schulze in the 80s.
Wow.
Because they met when Peacock was one of the first bands to be released on IC. We talked about IC. And they were on IC, and that's where Tommy and Klaus Schulze met. Yeah. And Tommy, I think he was on 2 tours, 2 big tours with Klaus Schulze. but mostly as a sound technician, a stage technician and roadie. But he also played drums on a couple of the concerts.
Yeah, I will send Tommy another email. And yeah, because definitely I would like to interview him and hopefully a lot of people from the IC record labels. From this a lot. There's so many good musicians there, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's a funny story how that came about. I have one of my listeners called Norbert. He lives in the north of Germany, and someday he invited me to play a living room concert in his place. And I said, why not? So I drove up there and we did that. I think it was in January 2012 or 13. I'm not sure. Something like that. And and I thought I would just play for him and his wife, actually. But they were good friends and it was no problem. I enjoyed doing it. But he wanted to surprise me, and he invited some of the people who are the organizers of one of the electronic festivals in Germany called Electronic Circus. And he was friends with some of them. And when I arrived, I wasn't prepared. There were 3 of them, I think 3 or 4 of them, waiting for me and said, hi, we are the guys who are organizing the electronic circus. And Norbert said, we need to hear your music. Okay, and it was great. So I think there were 2 more people there. I think the daughter of Norbert was also joining us, and her boyfriend, who was a bass player, or is a bass player actually. So we had also 2 young people there.
Yeah, wow.
And then it's a very small living room. And okay, I just set up my little equipment and played for them. And they liked it. And after the concert, we sat together and had dinner and a drink. And then one of the guys from the Electronic Circus Festival said to me, I heard you're living in Mainz. I said, yes. And that's close to Frankfurt, right? It's close to Darmstadt. These are all cities in our area here in Germany. And I said, yeah, sure. I said, Tommy Betzler, he's from Darmstadt. You should do something with Tommy Betzler. And I said, okay, who is Tommy Betzler? Oh, you don't know Tommy? No, I never heard of him. I said, yeah, he played drums with Klaus Schulze. And I said, okay, wow. Well, wow, yeah, wow. And then I said, well, I don't know why should he want to do music with me? And they kept insisting, just ask him. Okay, and so I did. I was already on Facebook, and I wrote Tommy a mail via Facebook, but he never answered. And it turned out that he had blocked me on Facebook for some reason. So I called these guys and said, okay, I don't know what I have done wrong, but Tommy doesn't appear to seem to talk with me. And then he said, oh, no, that must be a mistake. You need to talk to his wife, and she will arrange everything. And that worked. I really, his wife, Anke, is on Facebook too, and I wrote her a mail and explained everything. And she said, yeah, okay, I'll talk to Tommy. And then we arranged our first meeting. And since then, we are friends.
Wow.
We had so many great times together and made so much stuff.
So maybe that's what I need to do. I need to talk to Anka.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well,
I can talk to Tommy.
Yes, he needs sometimes he needs a little help with these things. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, go ahead.
Yeah, and so we started a project, and in 2013 we played 2 gigs together, and we wanted to record those gigs and put out a live album, and didn't plan anything more than that. But the funny thing was, at both concerts we didn't manage to record it. The recordings failed technically. Really? No, in both cases. The first recording was you only heard drums. Wow. Just very loud drums, and my keyboards were completely drowned. And in the second one we had distortions in the recording, so we couldn't use any of that. And then we said, okay, we'll make a studio album, and we started as Brückner and Betzler, just by our names. And we soon were joined by a friend of Tommy from Darmstadt, who is Sammy David. He's a guitar player, and he was guest on our first 2 albums. And on some point we said, okay, we'd like to do a band now with a band name, so that the 3 of us, that Sammy joins as a full member. And then we said, but it's stupid to call ourselves Betzler, Brückner, and David. That's a bit too simple, and we need a band name. And Tommy said, oh, okay, we call ourselves Peacock. I said, Tommy, but we are not Peacock, we are a different band. I mean, we played one track by Peacock live. And he said, yeah, okay. And I think I told him, if we call ourselves Peacock, then people will expect different music from us, because Peacock had a singer, they were a regular rock band, and we didn't have a singer. None of us could sing like a rock singer, and we didn't have a bass player, and we were much more electronic. And then we made up this other name that was a little bit like Peacock. We call ourselves P-Faun. Yeah. And that's a strange word game that I made up, because a V is the German word for peacock. Oh. And yeah. So I mix that in, but you only get the joke actually if you understand German. Right. Yeah. Anyway.
Man, you have so many stories. You need to write a couple books, man.
Why not? Yeah, so that was P-Faun, and we're still recording, but actually I need to work on new material for that project. The other guys are waiting for me to do something for about 2 years now.
Really?
Yeah. I'm behind. I have fallen behind with my work. I was lazy.
Yeah. So is that David guy the guy who
Sammy David?
Yeah, Sammy is the one that you mentioned that he was like a caterer for all the big.
No, that was Tommy.
Huh?
That was Tommy Betzler. He was a caterer.
Who had met every single.
Yes, that's Tommy Betzler.
Oh man, I need to get a hold of him, man.
Just after he toured with Klaus Schulze, yeah. And just after that, he realized that there is no catering service for rock stars in Germany.
Yeah.
And as a student, he had a daytime job at a concert organizer, at one of the biggest concert organizers in Germany, Fritz Rau. And there he had he met a band, a famous band, but it slipped from my memory who it was. But these guys came from America and were somewhere in a hall and set up a little, I don't know the English word, the thing you cook on.
Yeah.
Cooker.
Yeah,
yeah, cooker.
Like a little aluminum. You put heat underneath, and then you cook something.
Yes. Like camping.
Yeah, like
stuff.
a camping cooker. Yeah.
Camping cooker, yes. And when he saw these famous musicians sitting on the floor with the camping cooker, he realized that it would be a good business idea to start catering
company.
Wow. Yeah. And he was very successful in that, and he really he met, I don't know, the Rolling Stones, Whitesnake, Queen and Rainbow and Tina Turner, and I don't know who else, thousands of concerts.
I really need to talk to Tommy.
Yeah, you need to talk to him. He's the best storyteller in the world. Yeah, and he really can tell you a lot of stories. But it was also quite stressful, that business, and he got seriously ill from that.
Really?
He has multiple sclerosis.
MS, yeah.
MS. And that came from the immense stress he was under. And then he had to stop that. And then he changed to German TV, catering for German TV teams. That was easier than rock stars. But in the end, he had to sell the whole business.
Yeah, it was very stressful. Yeah.
And he retired at some point.
Yeah. Well, I need to. We'll have another email coming from me to set me up with Anka.
Yeah.
So by the way, you know, well, I will tell you if you know, there is, and you may know this since you live there. There is an issue now with Edgar Frost's son. Yeah, and no wanted a good. They don't have a good relationship with the current member of Tangerine Dream.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think the wife, is that correctly? The second wife, owned the name Jerome.
Yeah.
And her, they don't get on very well. So because I wanted to interview him.
Yes.
Jerome, and then through another lady who was a member of Tangerine Dream, told me, yeah, they don't get along very well. So if I interview Jerome and talk about Tangerine Dream, he say, no, my music is okay, but I don't want to have anything to do with Tangerine Dream. Maybe that's.
Yes, it was. I think they had some troubles. You know, I think money was involved, and a lot of Tangerine Dream fans actually didn't want the three of them to carry on. Then there were a lot of voices in electronic music groups or forums. They said, okay, without Edgar, Tangerine Dream should stop.
Yeah.
And at first they didn't accept Thorsten and the others, Ulrich and what's her name? The Japanese.
Yoshiko.
Yoshiko, yeah. They had a really hard time to be accepted.
Yeah.
I think they are accepted by now.
Yeah. I interviewed Ulrich a couple of weeks ago on the street, and he told me on tape, he's saying he's leaving Tangerine Dream. Yeah. Because he want to do his own thing.
Yes. I think, but he had a big career even before Tangerine Dream.
Of course. Ulrich now is very, very famous guy. You know, it's
Yes,
not.
yeah.
And
Yes, I read that he left. Yes.
yeah, he doesn't want to do. Looking back in your catalog, man, you have so much stuff. Is any one or two or three that you want to mention to the audience? You know, that bring a lot of memories, or you know, important to the audience, important to you. Feel free to elaborate on that.
Yeah, there are a couple.
And then I need to talk to your wife. You need to write a couple books. You have so many stories, man.
Yeah.
Berlin School of Music, according to Michael Brückner. Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Maybe. Yeah, why not? Well, some of my own albums. Of course, it's difficult for me because there are really many. Yeah. If someone is asking me, can you empfehlen? I don't find the English word just right now.
That's okay. No. You can say in German. That's okay.
Can you suggest which album to start? That's something a lot of people ask me, actually.
Oh.
They say, oh, I would like to buy an album, but there are so many, I don't know where to start, so I rather don't do it. Really, people told me that. Okay, so some albums from the top of my head, which I think that are special. One is very early. I recorded an album in 1997, which is called A New Age. But actually, it's not really a New Age album, even if the title does suggest that. It's I think you would call it drone ambient album. A little bit in the vein of some early albums of maybe Robert Rich or Matthias Grasso. Do you happen to know Matthias Grasso?
No.
Ah, you should. Anyway,
maybe send me an email. Send me an email. Too many people, man. I need to.
He's one of the pioneers of what is called drone ambient.
Yeah.
A great musician, good friend. We also made an album together just a few years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, one of my idols. Anyway, I didn't at the time when I recorded A New Age, I didn't know anything about Robert Rich or Matthias Grasso either. I didn't know any of these guys, but I was inspired by Peter Michael Hamel. And I think you are in touch with Hamel too, right?
Yeah.
You sent him a mail, right?
Yeah, I sent him. Yeah, I need to reply to. It's funny with the interviews. A lot of people I didn't know. They saw the interviews in Facebook. A friend of yours, or friend of Robert Rich, or Steve Roach, or Tangent Dreamfall. Hey, I'm such and such. Here's a link to my music. I would like to have an interview. I have work with this or that. So I have like a 10 email that people need to reply.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Peter Michael Hamel is very important to my personal history, to my journey. He wrote a book in the late 70s, I think, or in the early 80s, which is called Through Music to the Self. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good English title. It's a rough translation from German, and is about music and spirituality.
Yeah.
And how one can listen to music in a way that there is a spiritual connection happening, very roughly speaking. And he's writing a lot about improvised music and about Indian music and Middle Eastern music. And it's a great little book. And it really meant a lot to me at the time, and still does.
He's a professor at university, right? Yeah, Peter?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think he became that later. When he wrote that book, he wasn't. But a few years later, he's actually a classical and academic composer. He studied regular composition in the 1960s and wrote like concerts and for orchestra and piano pieces and stuff.
No, I know Peter is very, very famous guy, and we need to. What happened? His son was out of town. I think he lived in Vienna, and he didn't know how to work the camera. So he told me, okay, let's wait until my son comes back, and that had been going on for 4 months. So I bought a lot of CDs from him, like, because Peter Michael Hamel has like 30 or 40 or 50, I don't know. And then, so I bought like 6, and I'm looking at my desk there, and I sent it to him, just the cover, and he signed it, sent it to me back.
Okay, it's great. He did that.
Yeah. He's a very good, very nice person. Yeah. Peter is the one who put me in touch with Michael Honin, actually. He sent an introduction, email to Michael in German, and he CC me, and he put the translation. He doesn't speak, I don't think he speaks that well English like you do. So he say, okay, I'm telling Michael to please give a chance to this guy. He's a good interview and like good music. That's what Michael came back to me.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I think, give me 1 minute. I think I have the album here. Give me. So he sent me this sign. And then that guy.
Okay.
And then that guy. And then that guy sent. He's a very good person.
Yeah. Okay. But these are mainly classical, I mean orchestra.
Yeah.
But do you also know his electronic music?
Yeah, I have 2. I don't know where they are, but because he has so many. Where is the, hold on, let me, I need to, this is stuff for me to, I need to listen to this.
Yes, it's wonderful. It's Bardo, right?
Yeah, it's called Colors of Time.
Colors of Time, yes.
And this is Nada.
Nada, wonderful, yes.
Yeah, so all the stuff that is there in the back, that I need to listen to. I have like 200 CDs I need to go through.
We need more time to listen.
Yeah, and Robert also, Robert Rich sent me a bunch of stuff. I need to, no, but little by little, I'm catching up.
Okay.
Give me 1 minute to take I need to turn something off there. Give me 1 minute. Let me post this stuff. But go ahead.
Yes, I just try to recall the circumstances. I think I told you about how I started to do music at all after I started with yoga.
Yeah.
In our last talk.
Yeah.
And that's where I had some friends. I met some friends in that yoga group, and one of them actually gave me Hamel's book. And that's where I started to read the book. And it was, for me, it was just one context. The whole spiritual thing with that yoga community going on, that was new for me. And also these books about music, that they all melted together. And there was this other friend from the yoga group who actually also is a classical cello player. And he's also, or he was for 40 or 50 years, a professor for improvisation on a university. And he was a very kind person. I remember especially one yoga meeting late at night after we had meditation there, and the meeting was officially over, but everyone was still sitting there on the floor and just be quiet. And the lights were low. And then Christoph von Erfa had his cello with him, and he started to play Bach, Bach, a cello suite. I don't know which piece exactly it was, but it was so beautiful just in that context to hear him play solo cello. And he helped me a little bit with music, and we met for 2 or 3 times, and he taught me some things about composition, and we also talked about Peter Michael Hamel's book and the ideas therein. And he told me he was very much into microtonal music. Now, do you know anything about
No idea what that is.
Yeah, okay. No, maybe I can, if we still have time, we can talk about this later.
Yeah, that's right. We can do. I'm quite sure we'll do a meeting every Sunday or every weekend.
Well, at some point I'll have to make music again on Sundays. So I'm not sure if I'm available every Sunday.
Or every Saturday. You need to tell your wife that you're going to be busy every Saturday from whatever, 2 to 4 p.m. to talk to Claudio and
yes.
wife.
Anyway, that's when I became interested in that drone music. Yeah. Oh no, there was still one other key memory. It was at another meditation session, and we had live music there. There was someone playing a harmonium, and there was a percussionist. Yeah. And there was, do you know what a tambura is? It's an Indian instrument. Yeah. It's, if you know Indian music, yeah, they have that instrument that makes this long drone, just.
Yeah.
It's a really big instrument, but it only makes one note, but it's very resonant, like a voice. And that's like a drone. And I sat there in that room with my eyes closed, and the tambura was playing that sound, and suddenly I started to hear melodies. I sat there and I heard distinct, high-pitched and quite beautiful melodies, like someone started to improvise on, I don't know, a synthesizer. It was a very pure and almost like a synthesized sound. And I thought, okay, some other musician must have entered the room and joined the others and playing these notes. I was just sure of that. But when I opened my eyes, there was no one. I only saw the same 3 musicians as before. And I turned around and I still heard these notes. And I thought, who is the guy who's playing these notes?
Yeah.
And at some point I realized, or maybe I only found out later what happened. I'm not sure about that. But what happened was, when you are very relaxed, you're hearing, there's a change in the way of perception, and you can hear the overtones of an instrument in the spectrum. Like every sound has many components, and you have a basic frequency, and you have frequencies on top of that. They are called overtones, or partials, or harmonics, the harmonic overtones. And there is a state of awareness. It's like a shift, and suddenly you perceive these high frequencies as separate notes, and they move, and you hear them like a melody, and it's really, really beautiful and otherworldly, and just I don't know. It was also very moving in an emotional sense. And this was a key moment for me to start to make, I mean, I do all kinds of music, we talked about that, but from then on, I did also drone music that is based on a low bass sound, and just some sounds on top of that, where just the color of the sound is moving. And if you concentrate on that, you can hear more and more details in the sound the longer you listen to it. At first, it seems boring. Well, people say, but it's just one note. That's very simple. But when you start to relax and your awareness starts to shift, suddenly you hear so much detail in that sound that it really comes alive. And excuse me, and that's what I wanted to get into. And I tried to do that with my at the time still very simple electronic instruments, but they didn't quite sound like I wanted. I needed that. It was hard at the time to bring about these effects with synthesizers. And with that one album, which is called A New Age, I had a concept, and I wanted to tell the story with sound of the evolution of a planet. And the first track on it starts with only one note and its harmonics. And the second track has two sounds, like one chord. And the third track has, I think, 5 sounds, like a pentatonic scale, and they get more and more complex. And but I mean, they get musically more complex, but they were already from the beginning complex on the sound level. And to achieve that, I only had an Atari computer with some music software on it, and I had I had already 2 keyboards, and I had a tape recorder with 4 separate tracks, and I recorded for one note. How many? I think 60 different sound colors, like an organ sound, a string sound, a guitar sound. And then I programmed the volume of each of these sound colors to change over time. And the result is that you have one note that has always the same pitch, but the sound colors continuously change over time. And but it was with the equipment that I had. Maybe if I had better equipment, it would have been easier to do that. But it was unbelievable hard work to program all that and mix it. And but I think the result still is unlike anything I did with better equipment later.
Wow.
And I'm really, I still love this this first ambient album I did.
Is the one that, which album have you sold the most? If you look at your,
Sold the most. Funny enough, that's a recent one, I think. I think we talked about Olaf Lux, who wrote the book on Klaus Schulze.
Yeah, yeah.
And he offered me to just a second. I just fetched the book.
Yeah, no problem.
I put it somewhere. Just a second.
Go ahead. Oh, wow.
That one. This is actually, it's the English edition. Don't know if you can read it. Violence don't grow on trees.
That's Lutz's book, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
yeah. Right there. Yeah. He's
okay.
He's a very nice person. I
definitely. Yes. Yeah. But he scolded me. I mentioned his book in our first interview, and he said, well, you mentioned my book, but you didn't hold it into the camera. So I needed to do that now here.
Yeah, we need to tell Lutz, yeah. and he put me in touch with, what's his, I don't know his last name, German, Mario.
Schönwelder.
Yeah, I don't know, Lutz, yeah, he's a very nice guy. And Mario was very grateful. He sent me a bunch of CDs for the radios, and Mario has his own record label, so
yes.
And
Mannequin.
Yeah, and then he's a very. I think I'm going to be interviewing Mario. I think he doesn't speak English that well, so he told me, "Can you send me the question ahead of time so I can prepare the answer?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to say, man, Lutz has so many stories, man, like you.
Yes, and in that case, because you asked where did sell the most copies, and well, I didn't really sell them all, but there was an album called Claustrophilia that comes with that book. So everyone who buys that book will automatically get a digital copy of my album.
Wow.
And in fact, as Olaf sold quite a lot of those books,
yeah,
a lot of people got that album, which was great promotion for me, of course. And I also did a 2 CD edition of that music, and still sold quite a lot of them. I mean, for my standards.
Sure.
I have to add, because I'm just today the sales aren't as good as they used to be in the golden age. Even for the big players, they don't sell just as much anymore. And I'm not a big player, so my sales numbers are very modest.
No, you do very well, man. Your music is very, very good, man. And I will, yeah, I'm glad that hopefully people when they listen to that can buy, more of your music, Lutz book as well, and in German, of course, and there. What about you? If you need to bring like 3 or 4 music influences in through all the phases that you went in your career,
yes,
it's any 3 names that for sure should be mentioned here in terms of influences in your music.
I already mentioned Hame.
Yeah.
And he was one of the major influences. But of course, there are a lot of, I mean, all the great musicians I adore, and they influenced me in some way. But specifically for electronic music, well, really, Brian Eno was a big influence.
Yeah, wow.
And because not only actually because of his music, but because of the philosophy attached to it, and all those clever ideas he has about music and music production, and I think I like it when musicians are eloquent about their own music and have some intellectual element in it. I can connect to that. I take interest in that, and so I took interest in Brian Eno. And I don't know, do you happen to know that set of cards or deck of cards that Eno created called oblique strategies? No, that's crazy. You have like cards, and on that cards there are little instructions to help your creativity.
Wow.
And some of them, or most of them, are rather unexpected, crazy ideas. I think one of the most well-known is honor your error as a hidden intention. It's almost like Zen poetry, but especially that one is had a lot of influence, not actually the music, but the way I was making up ideas and concepts that would lead to music. For example, I realized that it's possible to trigger ideas or trigger creativity if I I don't know the English word, if I create little exercises or for me to do, and I made up exercises and they ended up in albums.
Wow.
Like I had the idea, it's an album called 5 Minutes. And the idea was to have a stopwatch and give me 5 minutes time. And in these 5 minutes, without listening to it, I did draw with a pencil tool in my music software. I did draw a bass line and a melody line and a drum beat without hearing it. In 5 minutes, you can do that. They are, well, if you never saw that, it's like a sequencer. Do you know what a sequencer is?
Yeah, I know what a sequencer is, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah. And there are equivalents in software for sequencers. It's maybe the same, just that it's software. And you can program a sequencer to play a certain melody by clicking knobs, and in the same way you can in the computer, you have a tool like with a mouse, and then you can draw notes in a grid and it will play back those notes. But you actually don't need to hear them, you just can draw anything and the computer will play back that. So it was this exercise when I tried to figure out what would sound good, but I didn't actually hear it. I only heard it after the 5 minutes were over. And then I heard my idea. And when it was cool, I kept it and worked on it. And it was, if it was nonsense, I just deleted it. And so wow. I composed each of these, the tracks on that particular album in 5 minutes without hearing it. And it worked. Wow. It was an interesting concept. It didn't work all the time. Some attempts were nonsense, but some were really good.
Yeah, wow.
And that's just one example of how you can make up exercises, and these exercises make you do something. And if you start to do something, music starts to happen. and you can go on from there. And I think that's something I learned from a way to think. I learned from Brian Eno that helped me a lot and triggered a lot of creativity, but without trying to sound like him.
I got you.
Yeah.
Have you met him?
No.
Man, he's very famous. I would love to interview him one day, but I don't know. Maybe will never happen. He's very busy and famous.
He is for sure. Yes.
Yeah, I need to.
So,
I need to have special people around here and then, because I will never get a hold of him.
Okay. So that was Eno, who was very important. Of course, Klaus Schulze.
Yeah.
Is at some point, I really always felt that he was special, and he had a special way of doing music like no one else actually had that approach. And also in his case, in most of the time, I didn't try to figure out how can I sound exactly like him, but rather I said he has so great ideas and such a special way to approach music, and I wanted to have that innovation, that impulse of innovation that he had, and I adored that especially. And I tried to find my own way to be innovative, but he inspired me to do that. I don't know if I ever arrived there, no idea, but I tried, and while I was trying, a lot of music came about.
Yeah. Well, your music is good, man, and well, I hope as you know, Klaus is not that well. He's not that healthy, so I hope he's okay, man. Hope, I don't know, maybe we'll never be able to interview him, but I'm very grateful for all the music he got put together.
Yes.
You're very good, man. You're very humble too. All the people in Germany are humble like yourself, or no?
I don't know. We have all kinds of people in Germany. All kinds of people. Like everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, the blue to the right hand side, that's Klaus Schulze, the blue album there.
Yes, that's one of my most favorite albums of all times. I think the
I know.
camera always confuses me.
You're there, right there. Yeah, that's a very good album. Yeah.
Yes. That's.
Have you seen him play live? Yeah.
Only one time.
Yeah.
Only one time. I missed so many concerts, which I actually could have attended if I only knew that they happened. But at the time, I just didn't realize. And soon after that concert, that was in 2008, with Lisa Gerard from Dead Can Dance.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then he only played 5 or 6 more concerts, but in Japan or in Poland, and where I couldn't attend the concerts. And then he stopped.
Right?
Then he stopped. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's doing well. Looking back in your life, any 1 or 2 particular concerts that are memorable to you that you say, man, that was a great day of my life, or whatever?
Concerts that I played as a musician,
or that you play.
Yeah, it's not that I played so many. Well, we did something. I was member of a group of ambient musicians who did meetings about once or twice per month, just to improvise together. And one of them Bernd Michaeland, he is a great musician himself, and he has a lot of connections to all kind of people around Frankfurt. And there is one big, I think it's an industrial fair. Do you say so? Is that the correct word? Fair? And it's about light, like lamps or all things connected to light. And when that happens, they also have a cultural program in the whole quite large city of Frankfurt. And there are many locations in which there are concerts or theater or stuff. And there are buses actually for free going from one place to the other, as in these, I think it's about a week, as long as that event is happening in all the town, and people who have a ticket can use all the buses and go from small event to the next. And there was one of these sub events of the big event that was in a church, in a former church that has been converted to a concert event hall. And they had visual artists there that were projecting video art at the walls. And they wanted to have ambient musicians playing live to go with that, to go with their laser protections. So, and Bernd Michaeland, he knew one of these guys. And one day he came to us, who also were in that ambient group, and said, hey, here is a great thing. If you like, each of you can give a concert at that place during that week, during accompanying the video performances. And that's I was one of those guys who could play there. We had 2 concerts per evening, and this location was so beautiful, and they had the best sound system I ever have had the chance to perform on.
Wow.
And the laser projections just looked magnificent. I could never have afforded such a laser show for a solo concert, and there we had that. And people were like a constant stream coming in and out. They didn't stay for the whole concert. They came with those buses I mentioned and came in and sit for 10 minutes, or some for half an hour, and some for the whole thing. But it was a very special atmosphere, and that was in 2014, and that was a cool concert.
How many people attended that concert?
It was hard to count them. There were maybe 20 or 30 who stayed for the whole concert. Yeah. But there were
people coming and going.
Yes. There was a stream of people coming and going. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I think 1 or 2 years later, I had a label release with a label from Berlin called Klangwirkstoff. Actually, Steve Schroeder has also released music on Klangwirkstoff. Did he mention that in his interview?
No,
I think with the Octave Orchestra. Yes, and he also made music with. Anyway, it's a long story. There's a guy from Switzerland who wrote about music called Hans Cousteau, and he wrote a book on cosmic tuning, and that's what the whole label is based on. And I made one album there, and they had also one of my pieces from that album on their annual label. They always made a label compilation each year, and everyone who had released an album had also one of their tracks on that compilation. And every time the compilation was released, they made a celebration, an event in a discotheque in Berlin, in a club.
Wow.
All night through. Only musicians from that label would play live there, and I was invited there. And
wow.
At that time, Olaf Lux still was living in Berlin, and I could stay at his place. And I visited him, and later we went to the club, and he helped me set up. And that was crazy, because the guys from the label, I asked them, what kind of music do you expect me to play? And they said, oh, only ambient, only ambient. And I said, okay. And I prepared, I think 2 months in advance, a very quiet set, very like meditation music. No beats. Okay. And then the event started, and I think I was third of, like in the middle of the night, I think I was performing at 2 o'clock or something.
Wow.
And there were 3 other guys were before me, and they all had beats. They all had, I mean, it was still chill out music. It wasn't techno, but they all were very, very rhythmic, and they all had beats, and people were dancing. And I turned to Olaf and said, what do I do now? People will stop dancing when I play the music I have prepared. Everyone will be bored. And he said, don't you have some stuff with beats with you? And I said, no, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. And I really panicked. And I had I knew, okay, in 1.5 hours, I have to be on stage and play my stuff.
Wow.
And then I went into a back room and had my my laptop, and I had some unused music on that laptop, and I rearranged everything so I had beats too.
Wow.
And I changed around my whole set, and I had no idea if it was going to work. And then at some point, it was my time, and I went on stage, and I just did my best. And then something great happened. People started or kept on dancing to that. And I never had anyone dance to my music. And it gave me such a good feeling to watch these people dancing to my music. It was really fun.
Of course.
And I had an inkling of how all these DJs must feel if they have a couple of 100 or 1,000 people dancing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and it turned out nice, and people applauded. And there was this one guy who was a bit younger than me and had a radio station, and he came to the concert, and he was there with a friend, and he was completely drunk. He was completely drunk, and when I came back from stage, he kneeled down before me. He was really drunk and wanted to kiss my hand and thank me for the concert. And it was just crazy. I mean,
you have so many. You need to write a couple of volumes of, you need to tell your wife to create, no novels, but volumes. Volume 1 of,
okay.
music in history of music in Germany, by Michael Brückner.
Yeah.
You have so many good stories to tell, man.
Okay.
And I'd
Well,
like to,
yeah.
Go ahead,
there were other memorable concerts too, but I think maybe we're running out of time, don't we?
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that concerning.
Yeah, well, we need to do it. If you have time, Michael, we can do a part 3.
I'm
You
not
know what I
sure.
would like to do? You know what I would like to do, Michael?
Tell me.
Is bring, and I talked to Iris Kama from Tangerine Dream. I don't know if you know her.
I didn't get the name.
Iris Kama.
Iris Kama?
Yeah, from Tangerine Dream. No, probably you don't know her. Okay.
Actually not.
Since I have interviewed like 7 people that have played Tangerine Dream.
Okay.
Different ages, right?
Uh-huh.
I would like to do like a meeting of all Tangerine Dream people. Some of them never met before, Some of them live in Germany, some of them live in Austria. I mean, in other place. Bring everybody together. I will, and then I would like to bring you and Robert Rich, and then I don't know, maybe the people from Nemesis and Giancarlo, and then the other guy, and put like a Zoom meeting of 6 people, kind of electronic people or ambient folks, and then talk about music in general. And do you think it will work or not, or people?
I'm not sure. There is a video on YouTube about an event in 2013 that was called Ambicon.
Yeah.
That was a big ambient festival organized by Stephen Hill, who is the owner of the label Hearts of Space, and who had a radio show called Hearts of Space. I don't know if you have heard.
I heard the name, I don't know.
Okay, and they did this wonderful event, and I think Robert Rich and Steve Roach and all of those great American ambient masters were playing there. And they made a panel discussion, they called it. And there is a video of that panel discussion still on YouTube.
Maybe I will listen to it,
yeah, maybe I can send you the link. And
send me a link,
then you can get an idea of how, I mean, I liked it. I watched it 2 or 3 times because I took interest in that.
Yeah.
And that could be maybe a model.
Yeah, send me the link, and then if you don't mind, put me in touch with Tommy's wife, and then other good people. Then I would like to. He's a legend. Tommy is a legend. If
Tommy's. They made a film. They made a film about him recently.
Really?
Yes. I mean, just a small. How do you say that in English? There's big established cinema, and then there are small film artists.
Yeah.
How do you call that?
There's a more festival that are about short films.
Yes, something like that. And there is this filmmaker who was following Tommy for 2 or 3 years and making interviews, and oh no, his name just escapes me. That's I need to look for his name. He has an Italian name. It always happens to me that I forget someone's name. Anyway, he did that. Did you stop the recording?
No.
Maybe you could just for a second, if you have the time, and I look for his name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me give me one. Yeah, man, that was very, very nice again, Michael, talking to you, man. Quite sure we'll send email back and forth, and then we'll do maybe a part 3 or something. And you have so many good stories to tell. And you have played with so many musicians. I love your music, and definitely I want to get several copies of the stuff you have done, and so I can listen to the stuff at home as well. and you are a good musician. You're doing well, man.
Thank you very much.
Keep on doing. Engage with Tommy. Do the other album that they keep on asking from the last 3 years.
Yes, I need to do that. Yes.
And then we'll do a part 3, man, of this. And so
yeah, wonderful. Okay.
Say hello to your wife. Thank you very much, man, and we'll be in touch very soon, man.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Michael.
good time.
You too. Thank you.